Hi, it's Laura at Aquamarine18. Thanks for stopping by my channel today. I am here with a quick for me, update on how my depth year 2020 is going now that we are halfway through the calendar year. If you happen to have found and clicked on this video and have no idea what a depth year is, I have a playlist on depth year 2020, and in the first video there I explain what a depth year is, the origins of the concept, and so on. So if you want to go check that out first, it will give some context for this video. But I'm going to kind of assume that if you've clicked on this video at this point, you probably know what I'm going to be talking about. So, folks will know that I set out some parameters for myself for a depth year 2020, and I have my notes here. I wrote down everything about my depth year parameters in my Metaphysician's Day Planner by Benabel Wen, and in addition to writing down the parameters there, I've been writing down some notes every month of any kind of related musings or reflections, and also anything that I've purchased in the categories that are covered in my depth year, just to kind of keep track. So I thought that I would just talk through the 4 categories that I created parameters for my depth year, and how each of those categories is going, and then a couple of reflections at the end. I will say now that in terms of reflections, I think that anyone who picked 2020 to do a depth year, including me, should give themselves quite a bit of slack. Nobody saw 2020 coming, and I feel like in a lot of ways, parameters that I was thinking about setting for this year back in December 2019 are feeling just so remote and far removed from what life looks like right now. That in some ways, in some respects, they're starting to feel less and less relevant, but I'm sticking with it. And, if you've watched my depth year videos before, you'll know that I was more setting kind of goals in the spirit of, like the spirit of having a low buy year, rather than kind of hard and fast rules about, how many of this or how many of that I was allowing myself to have. So, I'm sticking with those, but giving myself some slack in the areas that I've kind of purchased more things than I thought I would, which, spoiler alert, is the deck category. And I keep wiping my head. It's really hot weather here. I feel like I'm visibly dripping, so sorry for that. But I've been waiting to film this video and just been actually too shiny to do it. Shiny in the heat, but now it's rainstorm outside and it's a little bit cooler, feeling good. Okay, so depth year 2020, I set myself 4 areas to kind of limit and also critically self-observe my purchasing and engagement and behavior around. Those areas were arts, crafts, and hobbies. That's the first one. Books, spiritual supplies, I've called it. So that would be things like candles and incense and crystals and things like that. And then separately from that, decks, which I'll talk about last because, I have the most things to show you in the decks category. So just to go straight into it, I guess. In the arts and crafts category, what I wrote down in my planner as a set of kind of guiding principles for myself for 2020: no starting new arts/crafts/hobbies. Go deeper, the spirit of the depth here, with the arts/crafts/hobbies that I already enjoy doing. Only buy supplies for existing hobbies when you're out of something, or for specific projects. So if I run out of a particular thread that I need and I'm halfway through a cross-stitch project, then I can replenish that thread, for example. And no buying new arts and crafts related books or patterns. I am one who loves to get knitting patterns and cross-stitch patterns, and have a little folder of cross-stitch patterns that I have not yet cross-stitched. So that's where I was thinking there. And I will say that in this arts and crafts category, I have done very well. I will say for myself, I have not started any new arts and crafts or hobbies. I have not bought any arts, crafts, or hobby supplies actually at all. I do have a cross stitch project on the go, but I had bought all of those threads before, and I haven't started anything new. Obviously, I haven't been at the craft store. Everything's been closed. So I've stuck with that. Where I would say that I would like to do better, or maybe change what I'm doing in the second half of the year for arts and crafts and hobbies, is that I would like to, and I'm looking over here because it's right there, I would like to spend more time playing piano. I did buy a keyboard at the start-ish of the year, and I've played piano for a long time. I have been on a very long hiatus from it, but I played growing up, and I've been trying to get back into that, but I have not been feeling as creative as maybe I would usually, and so it's been a bit of a struggle to sit down and make time for that, and I want to do that more. But other than that, especially in terms of purchasing and stuff, I feel really good about the arts and crafts area. Oh my goodness, sweaty. In the books area, I set some rules for myself as well. And this I've also been making videos under the tag Book Stack of Shame, which I've made a few updates about. But my book rules were to read what I have before buying new books. So that was the Book Stack of Shame, the stack of 10 books that I had on my shelf for ages and not yet read. Utilize the library wherever possible. Buy ebooks wherever possible for eco-friendliness. And it's only okay to break the no new books rule if I need something for work or for a book club, because I am in Katie Flowers' Blossom Book Club very enthusiastically, and I've also been reading, I've read every book so far for the Literary Witches project that Kelly Bear is hosting on her channel with Becca from Becca Talks and Tarot. So, for that I'm allowed to get a book, but other than that, to read through the stack. I did finish, with a slight bend to the rules, my Book Stack of Shame in a way that I'm satisfied with. I have another video on that, so if you go back a few videos, you'll see how I rationalize that to myself, but that's done. So I've largely stuck to that rule. I did kind of have two cheats. I bought George Takei's book, When They Call Us Enemy, the graphic novel about George Takei's time in an internment camp, which my partner and I both read. And I also bought the Dungeons and Dragons Player's Guide, or Player's Handbook, to play my first Dungeons and Dragons game, online, of course. So those are the only two books that I bought before I was, satisfied with my being done the Book Stack of Shame. I feel pretty good about that. I will say, since finishing the stack, I have a new stack, but I don't feel any shame about the new stack because, they haven't been sitting around for years, so that's fine. Feel good about that. I've been reading a ton. Right now I'm reading a novel called Everfair by Nisi Shaw, which is a steampunk alternative history of the Belgian colonial occupation of the Congo. I'm also reading Starhawk's Spiral Dance for the first time, and I'm reading Coshleen Matthews' book on Lenormand. So lots and lots of reading, which I'm really enjoying. I did set the goal of using the library whenever possible. The libraries where I am haven't been open. They're just starting now to do curbside pickups. So I haven't actually used the library much this year. A little bit, in January and that, but not recently. But now that things are opening up a little bit where I am, I'll be able to utilize the library more, just for pickup. They're not doing interlibrary loans, I don't think, and not for browsing, but I'm, checking their catalogs when I find something that I want to read. Ebooks for eco-friendliness, I have been not entirely sticking to. New books are just more exciting when they're physical books. So I haven't always stuck to that rule. I've also been reading some books that my partners also wanted to read, and I only have the one Kindle, which my partner doesn't use. So if it's a book that we're both going to read or someone else wants to read, then I get it in paper as well. It's just easier to share. So I've been 50-50 on that, I'll say. And I've stuck with my book clubs and have been really enjoying those. So I'm giving myself a mostly passing grade in the book area, even though I had 2 cheats. That's okay. The Dungeons & Dragons Player's Manual was a good investment because I think I'm going to be really into D&D. I'm only partway through my first game, but it's really, really fun. I'm playing a rogue, if anyone likes D&D and was curious. A forest gnome rogue, and I'm having a lot of fun playing in Eberron. So that's my book update. Spiritual supplies. The rules I gave myself. No new courses unless all of them are finished. And one of the ones that I have that is not finished is Benabel Went's astrology course, which is so much. So like really this rule is kind of like just no new courses, because this astrology course just keeps sending me on reading tangents all over the place, and I'm going to take way more hours than is suggested. Mindful / deliberate / low buy of other spiritual supplies in general. Only buying regularly used items when I run out, so like tea lights, things like that. And especially low buy of crystals. I've said before, I have concerns about some of the issues around crystals with mining and that. So trying to research that. It's difficult to research, I will say, but trying to learn more, and not contribute too much if I feel uncertain about that. So in terms of that area of the depth here, no new courses unless all the others are finished. I have not purchased or even signed up for free any online courses in the spiritual domain anyway. I've been doing tons of online learning, online seminars and things like that about remote teaching and teaching online for the purposes of my work, but no new courses other than that. So I get a big check for that one. Success. Low buy overall, I would say, yeah, it's been a low buy. I haven't bought too much. I've bought 2 things actually, and that's it. One of them, I will show you. I got this little buddy here, baby cauldron. I'm calling baby cauldron. If you read the box that this came in, it's like a fondue pot. It's cast iron. I was looking for something small that I could safely burn things in the house in, and cast iron is of course safe for that. But when you start searching online for cauldrons, like even small ones like this, the prices are a lot higher than if you just search for cast iron pot, and they look like the same. So I bought this Lodge brand cast iron fondue dish, and it works for me. I quite enjoy that, so I did buy that. And then the other item that I bought in the kind of spiritual supply area, I bought a new journal. I bought it a little while ago, but I'm now like within 15 pages of filled my journal that I'm writing in now. So I like to get one a little bit early so that I can set it up how I like it. I paste a few things in there. So as soon as I'm finished the other journal, this will become my regular journal. I have already started writing in it actually, because for Katie Flower's Blossom Book Club, we're reading this month Chani Nicholas' book on astrology, and there's a lot of reflection questions in that book. And I didn't want to end up with like half my reflection questions in an old journal and half of them in a newer journal. So I just, even though I'm still doing my regular journaling in my other prior journal, I started the You Were Born for This is the name of the book. You Were Born for This, Astrology for Radical Self-Acceptance. I started the reflections for that in this journal, so I've started using that. Other than that, the other things I told myself to only buy when I needed more of, like incense and tea lights and things, I haven't actually needed any of, so I haven't bought anything. Clearly, I just had a huge stash of tea lights and incense because I use a lot of them and I haven't needed any yet, so, that's good. And in terms of crystals, I did get some goodies at the crystal and like gem show in my local area. If I'm going to buy them, I feel better buying them there. You can talk to, the folks there about them and where they're from, which is great. And then I've also recently purchased some earrings that are on their way to me that are one of my favorite crystals, are Larimer, that are made by a friend of mine that I will show off when they arrive. But other than that, that's all the crystals I've bought. So I think I've done okay in the other spiritual supplies area. Decks. So decks, I'm really glad that I didn't set myself a number here because I don't know what I was thinking, and I don't even know if I think that I'm succeeding or not, or like what that even means. What I wrote down as goals for deck purchasing, I said mindful/low buy, work in depth with the decks that I have or that I receive, because I knew I would be receiving some that I had like Kickstarter backed in 2019, for example. Work with those decks this year. Build my awareness of my feelings about my tarot and oracle collection and about buying decks. Try to check and rein in my deck lust/FOMO tendencies. Do I need it? I actually wrote that. Deep dive into learning Lenormand. So those were my goals. I am studying Lenormand, so I will give myself, a thumbs up there. I've said before, I'm finding it like not easy at all, but I'm enjoying it. So I am studying Lenormand. But did I low buy? I'm not so sure. So in 2020, I have purchased, pre-ordered, or Kickstarter backed a total of 9 decks. So that is specifically breaking down to 1 Lenormand. I told myself no more Lenormand until I actually learned Lenormand, but I'm in the process, so it kind of counts. 1 Lenormand, 4 Oracle, and 4 Tarot is what I've bought. I feel okay about it. I'm not sure if that's a low buy or not. Compared to last year, it is. It's not quite as low as I maybe anticipated that I would be at, but what are you going to do? I'm okay with it. So I thought I would show you some of the decks that I have purchased. Of the 9 decks that I got in 2020, or that I purchased in 2020 rather, 3 of them aren't here yet. So I backed, and I'm really excited for, and will share when it arrives, the Black Gold Lenormand by T of Grandma Baby Apothecary on Kickstarter. It's, not coming out for a while. The Kickstarter wasn't even that long ago. So I have that one to look forward to. It's my 1 Lenormand, the Black Gold Lenormand. I pre-ordered Animal Allies 2 by Jessica Swift. The first Animal Allies deck is one of my favorite Animal Oracle decks. It's beautiful. I knew that there was an Animal an Animal Allies 2 in the works for quite some time, and I knew that it would be a deck that I would want. I've pre-ordered that. It is in the mail somewhere in the weird limbo between the US and Canada right now. Hopefully it arrives this month. I think it will arrive this month, but it's not here yet. And I also Kickstarter backed the Threadbound Oracle by Cedar McLeod, who's the creator as well of the Numinous Tarot, which I love. And with the Threadbound Oracle, the Oracle deck is really cool because it actually ties into a novel that Cedar has written. So in backing the Kickstarter, I also get the ebook of the novel. And I'm really excited for this project. I'm so looking forward to receiving it. I've been following the updates and that. So, but that'll be quite late in the year, I think. So those are the 3 that I don't have. I do have 6 that I can show you. So this is not in the order I bought them, but we'll just go with it. I bought the second I heard that it existed, like no hesitation, no depth year consideration, no nothing. I bought the small, can you believe it's small? The small Gorgon Stare. I love the Gorgon Stare. I have the original one, which is substantially larger than this. This deck is by Dolores Fitchie. It's published by Schiffer, I believe. And they came out with this smaller size deck. And it just came shrink wrapped, no book, no nothing. The original deck comes in a hard box with the book. And this is a deck that I've owned for quite some time, and I've always said, if there was a smaller one, I would order it in a second. I ordered it in a second. And it came, and I love it. No regrets. Gorgon Stare small. I also ordered the other Oracle decks that I have to show you. I pre-ordered very early on and got the Journey Oracle deck by Kelly Fitzgerald of The Truth in Story. I already had the Journey tokens, so I know the system. This deck I have not been able to put down. This deck basically plays well with everyone, tarot-wise. The colors are amazing. The shape is amazing. I pretty much love everything about this deck. My only regret with this deck is that this deck also comes in a mini, and I kind of wish I just got both. And not getting the mini was one of those depthier moments where I'm like, no, like check your deck list. You don't need two of the same deck to come to you in the same package. But now I'm like, oh, I'm probably going to want the mini one, and then I'm going to pay shipping twice. But that's the Journey Oracle by Kelly Fitzgerald. I love it. It's amazing. The third Oracle deck I have to show you, which is the one that came to me the most recently, actually, and I haven't worked with it very much yet, is the Birds Oracle 2. So this is a hard box. I hope you can see that it says Birds Oracle there. This is another, it's a sequel to an Oracle deck that I already loved, so I knew I would get it. I already had for quite some time this Birds Oracle deck by Jessica Blaine Smith and illustrations by Mia Emily Freeman. They're based in Toronto, I believe. Definitely ships from Canada because it came quickly. So that's a Birds Oracle deck, and they came out with the Birds Oracle deck too. And they also offered as a really nice option for people who already had the first deck, you could get this hard shell box that would hold both of these decks in the tuck boxes. So this was another like, oh, that's out. I have to go get it. And I pre-ordered it and it came. And I love the artwork in this deck. I really like the guidebook. I love this puffin. There's a lot of different birds from around the world, but there's certainly quite a few, like this one that I see very regularly. So with those, I don't mind that there's no keywords. I like that there aren't, because if I want to, I can just go with the associations that I already have. This is another Oracle deck that I think just looks really nice with other decks as well. The first deck had a dark card back, but with the same design, and this one has the light back. I may do a full walkthrough of this deck, I'm not sure. I'm sure there are other walkthroughs of this deck out there, but it's a really beautiful one. The cardstock is amazing. Really rose petally, buttery, matte, beautiful. And I think that the box is a really nice touch, and both of these decks come with quite substantial, larger, like not deck size, but like physically larger guidebooks, which have some information about the bird and their behavior and where they live, what they eat, and some of the creators' associations with that bird, and some suggested kind of reflection questions or journal questions. So yeah, the Birds Oracle was another one that, like, did I check my FOMO tendency? No. Did I remind myself I was on a depth here and not buy it? No. I feel fine about it. Tarot decks. I have 3 to show you. So the first 2 that I'm going to show you, I bought right around the same time as each other last month in June. So June is Pride Month for folks who don't know. And I, with Pride being obviously canceled or like online or whatever, I've been feeling like some queer community disconnect for sure. And so I wanted to add some 2S LGBTQ plus featuring and created decks to my collection. Not that I don't already have quite a few, but I decided to go there. So I got 2 decks for myself for Pride Month. I wasn't going out to Pride parties, so I probably actually spent less money than I would in a Pride if I was out having a fun time. But I got 2 decks. They've both been on my wish list for a long time. Mass market decks. One is the Star Spinner Tarot by Trungles, and I saw this deck in its creation stages, and it's still in order, or it is in order rather. And I loved it from the moment I saw it. Here's the backs. There's lots of walkthroughs of this deck. I'm not going to show too many cards, but the colors of this deck are great. There's a lot of fairy tale imagery in this deck. I love her. This Empress. I like this Emperor a lot too. And something that's great about this deck that just makes me happy, deck creators out there, if you're listening, things that make me happy. There are 4 Lovers cards in this deck, which is amazing. You can choose which of these ones that you would like to work with, and I like all of them. I actually struggle a lot to pick one. So that is the Star Spinner Tarot by Trungles. Maybe let me know if any of the decks I show you want me to do a full walkthrough review of. Like I think that probably all of them there are walkthroughs of, but it's always interesting, I think, to hear different perspectives as well. The other one that I got was the Urban Tarot by Robin Scott, and this deck has been on my wish list for so long. Like, it has been the wish list limbo deck. Like, it has been on the wish list, but then other things have also been on the wish list. And if there's something else on the wish list that's maybe limited edition or something like that, then I buy that one, and this one has just sat on the wish list forever. And then what actually prompted me to buy this, mostly, was that this deck is featured in Queering the Tarot by Cassandra Snow, which I read with Katie Flower's Blossom Book Club. I'm going to do a book review of Queering the Tarot. I'm gathering my thoughts. I had a hard time with it, I'll be honest. But I love this deck. And so seeing this deck as I was reading the book kind of reminded me of why it was on my wish list for so long. This is the back of the deck. It's like a map or subway pattern. One of the things that kept me from buying this deck for a long time is that it is fairly thothy, and it has the keywords on it, which is not my favorite, but it has some really beautiful cards in it. The artwork in person is just, like, the camera can't, I always thought it was beautiful, but, like, the camera really doesn't, capture this. It's a deck that feels really contemporary. It's, it's called the Urban Tarot. It's definitely a deck, that is urban. It's very New York, I would say, which is the intention of the deck. But I just love the diversity in this deck. And it's one that I've really just wanted to have in my collection for so long. I really love the dimensions of the cards now that I have them. They're kind of a bit taller. They feel a bit tall. When I bought this deck, I had the full intention of just like lopping off the top and bottom, because you can see, the keywords are down there at the bottom. And I'm not a keyword, I actually own, other than this, I own one deck with keywords, and it's the Next World Tarot, and I still am thinking about trimming that one too. I've been thinking about trimming off the top and bottoms, but now that I have them, I feel like the keywords are not obtrusive enough to bother, because then I would also lose the length of the card that I like. So I'm going to just keep them the way they are. So it's the Urban Tarot by Robin Scott, and I'm really glad to have this deck in my collection, and I really want to sit down and read this guidebook end to end. I don't usually do that, but I want to do that. Now the last deck. I am definitely going to do more of a dedicated video on, because this deck has become my self-isolation time soul deck. I didn't know that it would in the way that it has, but it has, and I don't use that kind of language lightly. I don't know that I believe in soul decks. I don't know. That's another video. But all I know is that this deck, of any of the decks that I've gotten this year, like, I have very little used anything else since I got this one. And this one is the Naturescapes Tarot by Tina. And Tina is Queen of Wands, Queen of WANS, Wands, on Instagram. And this is a make playing cards deck, actually. These are the backs. And it's a nature-based deck. It's borderless. All of the cards are scenes. And I have not many decks like this. I don't feel like there are many decks like this. I don't feel like there are any decks like this one. And I'll make another video about that. But I don't even know. I'm obsessed with this deck. I have put it with lots of different oracle cards. It always reads incredibly. This deck, I have some stalker cards in this deck. But I feel like the imagery is just so evocative. And it has a very, very slightly Pamela Coleman Smith Rider-Waite feel, but not overwhelmingly so. I just feel like the choice of the imagery, that's the Fool. The choice of the imagery in these cards is genius. They're stunning to look at, like the Magician. Like, what is more magical than Aurora Borealis, right? Like, I like just sitting and looking at this deck. I've done every single newer full moon or larger reading with this deck since I got it. That's the Naturescapes Tarot, and it is the deck for me right now. So, in terms of depth here, I've bought /backed/ pre-ordered 9 decks so far in my low buy year. And for the second half of the year, I don't want to set any hard and fast goals again. Like, I'm not going to say, I can only have another 9 because that's what I did the first time or anything like that. Or, I want to have less and have 8. Like, it's not, for me, that's not really the point. And I already do know that there's one deck coming out on Kickstarter that I'm going to back for sure, which is the Cosmovisions Oracle deck by James R. Eads. My cat is meowing at me for FOOD. I hope that's not too loud. So, yeah, I am going to back that one. But, it's not really about the rules for me. And I wanted in this depth here time to prompt myself to look at my purchasing patterns and purchasing decisions and relationships with my stuff in a more mindful way and in a deliberate way and in a sustained way, right? Like, over the course of a year, see, what I can observe in myself and how I feel about that, and, whether I do want to do anything differently, and so on. And I think that, at the end of the day, I can do all of those things, you know, whether I backed 9 decks or 5 decks or, you know, maybe that's just my justification for maybe breaching the low buy a little bit. Like, oh, but I can still, you know, the purpose is reflection and I'm still doing that. But that's, you know, that's what I think about it. I think that in terms of thinking about what works for me and what doesn't, seeing, you know, how I respond to these kinds of parameters, that I will accomplish this year. You know, regardless of what my purchases look like in the second half. I'm really pleased with myself for the book Stack of Shame accomplishment still. But, you know, yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy with it. And I do think, you know, I really do think that 2020 has been a shit year to have picked a depth year. You know, what with being home from work and not being able to, you know, see friends in the ways that I normally would. It has been not always easy, but I'm sticking with it and I feel pretty good so far. So I wanted to just share this, and it became a long video. I'm sorry. I wanted to just share this because I feel like, you know, I've been talking about the depth here at the start of the year. It's good to have a mid-time check-in. You know, in some ways that's like accountability, right? Letting folks know what I'm doing, but it's also like, you know, I feel good about what I'm doing. So yeah, I thought I would just share. I've also been really enjoying other folks' mid-year depth year updates. So I thought I would contribute mine. Anyway, so if you've been doing a depth year this year and you don't have a channel, but you want to share how that's been going for you, feel free to share in the comments below. Let me know. I love chatting about these kinds of things. If you stuck with me this long, of course, thank you so much for watching. I wish you a wonderful night, and I will see you again soon. Talk to you soon.